Guys, it's time to make the video. What happened to my BMW M2? If you've been following my channel or if you hear me mention it in multiple different videos, you'll know that I owned a BMW M2, much like this one, and I totaled it. That was a year ago now. A little over a year ago, a year and a couple weeks. If you ever total a car, you know there's a lot of processes involved. You know there's attorneys involved, you know there's insurance involved, and it's just not a fun time. I'm sure any of you that have ever been in accidents can probably attest to that. It's not a good time. And now I think it's time to finally make, sorry, I keep swatting bugs away. There's a lot of bugs in this area. I think now is finally the time to make the video talking about what happened to my other BMW M2. How did I total that car? So I made a video about a year ago now talking about pretty much how I totaled that car. More so talking about the backstory and just kind of the last adventure that car had. Kind of the last trip it took before it got totaled. But I don't actually go into what happened and how did it happen. Now everything with insurance is all done and finished. Everything with attorneys, with the state, everything is now done and finally wrapped up. And again, if you've ever been in an accident and know what a pain that whole process is, you know how good it feels when everything's finally over, when the dust finally clears and you're finally able to just move on from everything. And it's a long process. Like I said, it's been a year. So now with everything finished, I can actually talk about how did I crash the car and kind of give you some of the lessons that I've learned, because I think there were a lot of good lessons to be learned. Stick with me and let's talk about my M2. So to talk about the M2, I have to first backtrack a little bit to the car that came before it, which was the M240i that I owned, which was X-Drive, and that's very important. You know, I've only ever owned all-wheel drive cars, and I've driven a few rear-wheel drive cars, but I've never actually owned anything besides an all-wheel drive car. So I was firstly just really used to owning a car that was all-wheel drive, and I was not used to rear-wheel drive. I think that's a number one big part of it. It was that I went from an all-wheel drive car to something that has pretty much the same amount of power but delivered completely differently. Really, an all-wheel drive car, you can drive however you want. A rear-wheel drive car, you have to drive completely differently because you have to understand the mechanics and physics behind how the power is delivered. I didn't realize that as much at the time, how important that distinction was, because I figured, it's gonna be fine, the tires are wider, you know, the car is gonna take it no problem. Yeah, I put a lot of confidence in the car, and maybe a little too much confidence. There's a little quote inside the manual for the M2. It says something along the lines of, physics doesn't care. If physics wants to throw your car into a wall, physics will throw your car into a wall. Physics does not care what safety features you have. So now going into the actual accident. So essentially what happened, there's a T intersection and there's a main road and then there's a side road that kind of goes onto that road from a slight angle. So I'm on the side street trying to pull into the main road. I know this area very, very well. I've lived near this area for practically 90% of my life. It's a very dangerous intersection. I can remember so many accidents there growing up. Literally every other week there's an accident. Like, it is really that dangerous of an intersection. And what really makes it dangerous is a couple things. One, the way the road attaches onto it, it like goes uphill and then it levels out immediately. And there's like a break in the asphalt. You go up at an angle and then it levels out. So it's not a smooth transition, for one. For two, that road is always busy. There's always a lot of cars coming down, unless it's like 3 in the morning or something like that. There's just always cars there. The really dangerous part about it is if you just wait there for the perfect opportunity to pull out, you're literally gonna be sitting there for like an hour. Like, I kid you not, it's that bad of a spot. At some point you just have to say, all right, I have enough of an opportunity, I gotta go. And that's just how the intersection is. It's never been changed, it's never been remedied. It's just not a good area. I'm sitting there and eventually the time comes for me to go. I essentially go to make a left turn and I gun it out because you have to gun it out of there. And as soon as I kind of start going over the little break from the uphill kind of diagonal road onto the straight, the back end just flips on me. The whole car just fishtails and I don't have enough room or time to correct it and save it. So then what happens is basically the front of my car ends up in the oncoming lane, and I pretty much get hit from that side going this way. So the whole front corner was just smashed in and my car spun around. Now there are obviously a lot more factors that factor into it, right? It's not just all about the road. It's not just about how hard I gunned it. There's a lot more things to it, and I think it just created ultimately the perfect storm that I just wasn't ready for. One, ahead of time, the car was sitting for a little while. The tires ended up getting cold, and that's another thing that I never really thought about when owning a car, because I never had one with enough power and a drivetrain that was able to break the traction based on the temperature of the tires until I owned the M2. Until you experience that, you don't really realize how important tire temperature really is. Even now, if I have these tires at like 60 degrees, there's a huge difference in traction when I drive, and I could feel it now between 60 degrees and when they're like 90 to 100 degrees. There's a huge difference, and until you realize and are looking at what the difference is, you don't notice it, you don't realize it, you don't pay much thought to it and realize how important it is. That's part one. Part two, obviously I already mentioned the way the road turns, it's not great. The road is cracked, there's a little break, it's just not a good road. On top of all the accidents that happen there, all the sand they put to clean up the mess, they don't do a great job cleaning it up. So there's always sand, there's always little pieces of crap. And I can attest to this because literally an hour later, as I was going home from the accident, there was another accident in the same spot. And I'm not exactly sure how that accident happened, but from how it looked with the debris on the floor, it looked like one car tried to brake and kind of slid into the other cars. Not a safe spot. They just don't do a great job cleaning it up. Ultimately, I think that created the perfect storm altogether of like just a bad spot, bad situation with the traffic. Now on top of that too, you also have to factor in me as well. At the end of the day, I'm the one driving the car. Yeah, I think I kind of underestimated the power of the car and overestimated the car's capability to take that turn the way I tried to make it take that turn. At the end of the day, that's all on me. And I think that's a fantastic learning opportunity for any of you guys that are buying a car like this, that are buying a rear-wheel drive car or just a powerful car in general. And that is just make sure you understand your car. Make sure you understand what your car is capable of and where the limit is. Because if you don't know exactly where that limit is, and if you don't know how hard you could take a turn before you start breaking traction, not counting the circumstances of the road or the traffic, if you don't know what your car can do, you're not going to know when the time comes, oh crap, I'm on the edge, I have to save this any moment now. You're just not going to know. You're not going to realize it. By the time I realized what was going on, it was just too late to save the car. The road is too narrow. The traffic just moves too quickly. I just couldn't do it. Couldn't be done at the time. And it is what it is. I'm very grateful that for the most part I came out uninjured. I had a slight knee injury, but that looks to have mostly been recovered. So can't complain there. The other party is okay. Everything worked out. Very grateful for that, very lucky. It kind of goes into some of the lessons of, one, what I pretty much just mentioned, of just understand your car and don't put too much reliance on the safety features of the car. Just don't assume the car is going to save you. Physics will do what physics does, regardless of whatever safety features you have. The other lesson is kind of a more so about the car specifically, and this is really for the car enthusiasts out there. And that lesson really is, your car is not that special. When I bought this car, or the previous one that I totaled, I thought it was the most special car in the world. There was nothing else like it. Like, it was irreplaceable. And you put a lot of attachment onto that car. And when you total the car, it hurts because you have such an attachment to the car, especially as car people. We don't want to see our cars dinged or scratched, let alone completely destroyed and wrecked. We just don't want to see it. The lesson that a lot of people say about, oh, it's just a car, you're irreplaceable, the car you can always replace. I think as car guys, we don't want to believe that because we feel our car is special. We have to also understand that, yes, at the end of the day, it is just a car. It's just a piece of metal with some plastic and some rubber, maybe some leather, carbon fiber, whatever, but it is just a car. You realize, as special as your car is, it's also not that special. You could buy another one. It took me a while to find a replacement for it just because the color itself and the spec I wanted is relatively rare here. Ultimately, I found pretty much the exact car I wanted, the exact replacement. Now, having the perspective of totaling the previous one, if I total this one or if something happens to this one, yeah, I'm gonna be upset for a couple weeks, but then it's like, all right, well, that's done. Let's move on to the next car. Just remember, guys, at the end of the day, a car really is replaceable. Unless you have like a multi-million-dollar exclusive rare one-of-one Ferrari, your car is replaceable. And you are not. You cannot be replaced. You are a one-of-one. That is, I think, a very important lesson. It kind of showed me that, like, it's just a car at the end of the day. Like, I could total this one, I could buy another one. I could buy my dream Ferrari tomorrow, and then the next day I can trash that car and flip it into a river. And you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna be upset for a couple weeks, but then it's like, all right, cool. I got my payout, everything's done. Let's go buy another one. So if any of you guys have had accidents or will have accidents, chances are you will at some point. You could be upset about your car, but at some point you'll realize you are okay, and that's all that matters. So yeah, I just want to make this video kind of talking about what happens to the M2, so maybe one of you guys can learn from my mistake and don't make the same mistake. And really, the ultimate takeaway is that you are not replaceable. The car is. So just make sure that all you guys stay okay out there, stay safe, keep yourselves alive. You know, you let your car live another day, let yourself live another day. But if you do total your car, don't take it too personally. That's gonna be it for this one. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope you appreciate the storytelling, even though it wasn't the greatest of stories, but I hope you appreciate the telling of the story of what happened to the M2, and I hope you guys learned from it. So thanks so much for watching. Until next time.